I stared at my phone screen through blurry, wine-drunk eyes, my fingers flying across the keyboard with the kind of confidence only 3 glasses of Moscato can give you. Richard, I'm done. Done with your condescending comments, done with you taking credit for MY ideas, done with you making me work until midnight while you leave at 4 for golf. You are a mediocre man coasting on privilege, and I hope your next assistant has the sense to record every illegal thing you do and sue you into oblivion. I quit. Simone. I hit send with a triumphant jab of my thumb, feeling like the baddest woman alive. 6 years of swallowing my pride, 6 years of watching Richard steal my campaigns and present them as his own. 6 years of being paid $30,000 less than my white male colleagues. It all came pouring out in that text. That's right, I slurred to my empty apartment, raising my wine glass. Simone Lewis doesn't take garbage from mediocre men anymore. I passed out still wearing my work clothes, feeling victorious for the first time in years. But when morning came, I'd discover that victory was about to turn into something I never could have imagined. The sunlight stabbing through my curtains felt personal. My head pounded like someone was using my skull as a drum, and my mouth tasted like something had died in it. I groaned and reached for my phone to check the time. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. All from a number I didn't recognize, an international number. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might throw up, and it had nothing to do with the hangover. What had I done? With shaking hands, I opened the messages. Unknown number, 2:15 a.m. I don't know who Richard is, but he sounds like he deserves that message. Unfortunately, I'm not him. Wrong number. Unknown number, 2:43 a.m. Are you all right? That message sounded like you've had a difficult time. Unknown number, 3:02 a.m. I'm concerned you might have made a mistake you'll regret in the morning. For what it's worth, anyone who inspires that level of honest rage probably deserves it. The messages continued through the night, growing more curious and strangely thoughtful. The last one sent just 20 minutes ago. If you're awake and mortified, don't be. I haven't been spoken to that honestly in 10 years. It was refreshing. I hope you're not too hungover. Drink water. Oh my God, I whispered, horror washing over me. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I typed with trembling fingers. I am so sorry. That was absolutely meant for my boss, not you. I'm completely mortified. Please delete that and forget you ever saw it. I apologize profusely. The response came within seconds, which somehow made everything worse. Unknown number, why apologize? You were honest. Most people I encounter are incapable of that level of honesty. What field do you work in that inspires such passionate resignation speeches? I blinked at my phone. Who was this person? And why were they being so understanding about a stranger's drunk meltdown? Me, marketing, luxury brand marketing. And I wasn't actually planning to quit, I was just drunk and angry. Now I have to go grovel to my terrible boss and pretend that text never happened. Unknown number, why would you grovel to someone you clearly don't respect and who doesn't respect you? Me, because I have rent and student loans and a need to eat food. Unknown number, fair point, what time is it where you are? Me, 7 a.m, what time is it where you are? Unknown number, 9 p.m, I'm in Seoul, I'm Di-Hyun by the way. Since we've already established this unusual level of candor, we might as well introduce ourselves properly. Me, Simone, and I really am sorry about the text. You seem nice and you didn't deserve to be hit with my drunken rage. Di-Hyun, I found it entertaining. Good luck with Richard, he sounds insufferable. I should have left it there, said thank you and goodbye, and blocked the number to avoid further embarrassment. But something about this stranger's calm responses made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. That would turn out to be the most dangerous feeling of all. Instead, I dragged myself into the shower, got ready for work, and prepared to face Richard with whatever dignity I could scrape together. Richard was waiting for me when I arrived at 9:15, his arms crossed over his polo shirt, his face red with that specific anger that mediocre white men excel at. My office now. My co-workers, all 12 of them crammed into our open-concept hellscape, looked at me with a mixture of pity and curiosity. Jessica, the only other black woman on the team, mouthed good luck as I walked past. I had no idea how much I'd need that luck. Richard's office smelled like expensive cologne and unearned confidence. Simone, your work lately has been sloppy, unacceptable. The Henderson campaign you submitted yesterday was amateurish at best. My campaign, the one he told me was brilliant 2 days ago before adding his name to it. The Henderson campaign that you presented to the client under your name. I kept my voice level professional. I refined it significantly. Your first draft was barely usable. He leaned back in his chair. I'm putting you on probation, 30 days to improve or you're out, and you'll be taking on Michaela's workload while she's on maternity leave, unpaid overtime, obviously. Something in me snapped. Not dramatically, not with fireworks, just a quiet, calm certainty that I was done. But I had no idea that certainty was about to change everything. Is there anything else? I asked. He blinked, clearly expecting tears or apologies. No, get back to work. I returned to my desk, opened my laptop, and spent my lunch break updating my resume while eating sad desk salad and seething. My phone buzzed. Hyun, how did the groveling go? I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was 6 years of swallowed words. Maybe it was watching Richard take credit for my work again. Maybe I just needed anyone to hear me. He put me on probation for work he took credit for, then gave me someone else's job on top of my own. No extra pay. I'm so tired of being treated like I'm replaceable. Hyun, you're not replaceable. Anyone who can craft a resignation text that eloquent while drunk is clearly talented. I laughed out loud at my desk, earning curious looks from my coworkers. That's a weird metric for talent. Hyun, I have unconventional standards. What would your dream job look like, Simon from marketing? I stared at that message for a long moment. When was the last time anyone asked me what I wanted? The answer terrified me as much as it excited me. Creative freedom, respect, a boss who doesn't steal my ideas, the ability to take risks without being micromanaged. Fair pay, is that too much to ask? Hyun, no, that's the bare minimum, you deserve all of that. Those words hit me harder than they should have. I barely knew this person, this Hyun from Seoul, but his simple validation made my throat tight with emotion I'd been suppressing for years. The rest of the day dragged. Richard sent me 17 revision requests on a project that didn't need revisions. Jessica caught me in the bathroom at 4. Girl, what did he say to you this morning? You look like you're plotting murder. Probation, extra work, the usual. I washed my hands, avoiding her eyes in the mirror. Simon, you're the most talented person here and everyone knows it. Even Richard knows it. That's why he treats you like that. He's threatened. Threatened people with power are dangerous, Jess. So are talented women with nothing left to lose. She squeezed my shoulder. Don't let him break you. But I was already broken. What I didn't know was that someone halfway around the world was about to put me back together in ways I never expected. That evening, collapsed on my couch with takeout I couldn't afford, I texted Hyun again. It was becoming a habit, this strange friendship with a stranger 12 hours ahead. Do you love what you do? Hyun, I did once. Now it's complicated. I built something from nothing, but success brings its own cage. Everyone wants something from me. No one tells me the truth anymore, that's why your text was refreshing. Pure, unfiltered honesty. What do you do? Hyun, technology. Software development, AI integration, some venture capital investments. It's boring to most people. Doesn't sound boring to me, sounds like you built an empire. Hyun, an empty one sometimes. What marketing ideas does Richard keep stealing from you? I found myself telling him everything. The social media campaign I'd designed that went viral under Richard's name. The influencer partnership strategy that won us 3 major clients. The rebrand concept that saved a failing product line. Hyun, send me examples of your work, if you're comfortable. Why? Hyun, curiosity. I like understanding how talented people think. I should have questioned it more. Should have wondered why a stranger in Seoul cared about my marketing portfolio. But I was tired and lonely and desperate to be seen, so I sent him links to campaigns I could prove were mine, along with strategy documents I'd saved. His response came an hour later, during which I'd convinced myself he'd ghosted me after realizing I was just another mediocre marketer complaining about her boss. What he said next would flip my entire world upside down. Hyun, Simon, this work is exceptional. The Henderson campaign in particular shows sophisticated understanding of luxury consumer psychology and cultural nuance. You're being wasted. Me, thank you, that means more than you know. D. Hyun, I have a question. It's going to sound unusual. My heart started pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. Me, okay. D. Hyun, would you be interested in working for me, remotely initially? I need someone who understands American luxury markets and can bring fresh perspective to some projects I'm developing. Your work speaks for itself. I stared at my phone for a full minute, convinced this was a scam or a joke or both. Me, I don't even know your last name. This feels insane. D. Hyun, Kang D. Hyun, Google me, I'll wait. With shaking hands, I opened my laptop and typed his name. The first result was Forbes. Kang D. Hyun, 34, tech visionary behind DH Industries, net worth $8.9 billion. I clicked through to images. The same face I'd been texting for 2 days stared back at me from magazine covers and conference stages. Intense dark eyes, sharp jawline, expensive suits. Articles called him reclusive, brilliant, notoriously private. Holy hell, I whispered, this couldn't be happening. A billionaire was offering me a job based on a drunk text. My phone rang, a video call from D. Hyun. I answered without thinking, and suddenly he was there, live on my screen, sitting in what looked like a penthouse office with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the Seoul skyline lit up behind him. He was even more handsome in motion, which seemed unfair. You Googled me. His English was perfect, his voice deeper than I'd imagined. You're a billionaire, my voice came out strangled. That's not a personality trait. A slight smile played at his lips. I'm also someone who recognizes talent when I see it and who desperately needs someone who will be honest with me. Your drunk text proved you're capable of that. This is insane. You don't hire people based on drunk texts. I hire people based on their work and character. The drunk text just introduced us. Your portfolio convinced me. I'm offering you a 6-month contract, remote work, triple whatever Richard is paying you. If it works out, we discuss something permanent. If it doesn't, you have 6 months of excellent pay and a reference that will open any door you want. Why me? You could hire anyone. His expression shifted, becoming more vulnerable. Because everyone I hire tells me what they think I want to hear. You told a complete stranger, who you thought was your boss, exactly how you felt with zero filter. I need that. I need someone who won't perform for me. I need to think about this. Of course, I'll send a formal contract and NDA tomorrow. Look it over, show it to a lawyer if you want. No pressure, Simon, but I meant what I said. You're being wasted where you are. After he hung up, I sat in stunned silence for 20 minutes before calling my best friend Keisha. If anyone could talk sense into me, it was her. Girl, you will not believe what just happened to me. Keisha listened to the whole story, her silence growing more ominous with each detail. Simon, baby, sweetheart, that's either the opportunity of a lifetime or a murder plot. There's no in-between. He's a real billionaire, Forbes confirmed it. Billionaires are just as capable of being murderers, maybe more capable because they can afford to hide bodies better. Why is he so interested in you specifically? I don't know, but Keisha, what if this is real? What if I actually have a chance to get out? She sighed, then check that contract thoroughly, and maybe keep me updated daily so I know you're not dead. But Simon, if this is legitimate, take it. Richard is killing your spirit piece by piece. I've watched it happen for 6 years. The contract arrived at 6 a.m. the next morning. 47 pages of legal language that boiled down to work on luxury brand expansion for DH Industries' American market entry, report directly to Kang D. Hyun, salary of $190,000 for 6 months, comprehensive benefits, remote work with potential travel to Seoul. I read it 3 times, sent it to an employment lawyer my cousin recommended, and spent the day at work in a fog. But the fog was about to lift in the worst possible way. Richard called me into his office at 2. Simon, I'm disappointed. I've learned you've been using company time for personal projects. Someone saw you working on outside materials during lunch yesterday. My blood went cold. I was updating my resume on my personal laptop during my unpaid lunch break. That shows lack of commitment to this company. I'm afraid I'm going to have to let you go, effective immediately. The words should have devastated me. Instead, I felt light, free, like the universe was pushing me exactly where I needed to go. You're firing me. I'm sorry it came to this, but your recent attitude and performance issues have left me no choice. My attitude issues started when you put me on probation for work you stole. My performance issues don't exist. But you know what, Richard? You're doing me a favor. His face reddened. Excuse me. I quit. I should have done it years ago, but I stayed because I was scared. I'm not scared anymore. And someday, when my name is on successful campaigns and yours is forgotten, I hope you remember this moment. I walked out with my head high, Jessica cheering as I passed her desk. In my car, I called Hyun. He answered on the first ring like he'd been waiting. Simone, I wasn't expecting to hear from you until you'd reviewed the contract. I just got fired or quit, both happened simultaneously. The lawyer says your contract is airtight and fair. I'm in. When do I start? The smile in his voice was audible. Tomorrow if you want, I'll set up your accounts tonight. Simone, you won't regret this. I hope not, because I just burned a bridge I can't rebuild. Good, that bridge was rotten anyway. That first month working for Hyun was intense. He sent me detailed briefs on his company's planned expansion into American luxury markets. I analyzed everything, crafted strategies, challenged his assumptions. We video called almost daily, sometimes for hours. And somewhere in those conversations, something shifted between us that neither of us wanted to acknowledge. I started noticing things. The way he watched me when I talked, his eyes tracking my expressions like he was memorizing them. How he remembered tiny details I mentioned in passing. The gifts that started arriving, a top-of-the-line laptop, ergonomic office chair, designer desk accessories I'd never asked for. Hyun, you don't need to send me things. I want your work environment to be optimal. You can't produce your best work without proper tools. But it felt like more than that. It felt personal, it felt dangerous. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. This story right here is an emotional roller coaster that's going to teach you about taking risks, knowing your worth, and what happens when two broken people find each other in the most unexpected way. So go ahead and subscribe, smash that like button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now let's get back to Simone's story, because things are about to get really complicated. 6 weeks in, I presented a complete campaign strategy for his company's luxury watch line launch. I'd worked for 3 days straight, barely sleeping, perfecting every detail. This was my chance to prove I deserved this opportunity. He was silent for a long moment after I finished, his face unreadable on the screen. What's wrong? Did I miss something? Simone, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I needed and better than I imagined. You've exceeded every expectation. Then why do you look upset? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd learned meant he was struggling with something. Because I'm realizing I don't want this to be temporary. 6 months isn't enough. I want to hire you permanently. I want you here in Seoul, working directly with my team. My stomach flipped. That's a huge ask. My whole life is in Atlanta. I know I'm being selfish. But Simone, you're transforming my company's entire approach to branding. I need you here. Say you'll at least think about it. I'll think about it. That night I couldn't sleep. The idea of moving across the world for a job, even an incredible job, felt terrifying, but something else nagged at me. The way Hyun looked at me, the intensity in his voice when he said my name. This was becoming more than just a job, and that realization scared me more than anything. Keisha called at midnight, like she always did when she knew I was spiraling. You still alive? Barely. He wants me to move to Seoul. Of course he does. Simone, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest. Is this still just professional? I was quiet too long. Girl, you have feelings for your billionaire boss you've never actually met in person. I can't. That would be insane and unprofessional and... You absolutely do. I can hear it in your voice. Does he have feelings for you? I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe, but then I think I'm reading into things because he's attractive and successful and pays attention to me. I'm probably just projecting. Or he's a man who's used to getting what he wants and he wants you. Be careful, Simone. Power imbalances are real, even in fairy tales. 2 weeks later, Hyun called with news that would change everything. We're launching the watch line in 3 months. I need you in Seoul for the final preparations. 2 weeks, all expenses paid, 5-star hotel. Will you come? My heart pounded so hard I thought he might hear it through the phone. This was it. The moment where fantasy would meet reality, and I had no idea which would win. Yes, I'll come. Good, I'll have my assistant arrange everything. Simone, I'm looking forward to finally meeting you in person. Me too. After we hung up, I sat there trembling, not entirely sure if it was from excitement or fear. Probably both. The flight to Seoul was surreal. First class, where the seats became beds and the flight attendants treated me like royalty. I kept thinking this was someone else's life, not mine. That girl who used to eat sad desk salad while her boss stole her work wouldn't recognize this version of me. Di-hyun had arranged for a driver to pick me up. The hotel was absurd, a suite bigger than my entire apartment, overlooking the Han River with a view that made me want to cry. My phone buzzed. Di-hyun, did you arrive safely? Is the hotel acceptable? Me acceptable. I'm pretty sure this suite costs more per night than my monthly rent used to be. This is too much. Di-hyun, you deserve it. Dinner tonight. I'll pick you up at 7, dress casually. I spent 2 hours trying on every outfit I'd brought, finally settling on a simple black dress that Keisha had insisted I pack. When 7 o'clock came, I was a bundle of nerves, packing the suite like a caged animal. What if the chemistry we had through screens didn't translate in person? What if I'd built this up in my head and reality couldn't match it? When I opened the door at 7, Di-hyun was standing there, and seeing him in person stole my breath. He was taller than I'd imagined, his presence more commanding. But his eyes, those intense dark eyes I'd seen on screens for months, softened when they met mine. The way he looked at me made my knees weak. Simone, my name sounded different in his voice in person. It's good to finally meet you properly. You too. Dinner was at a quiet, clearly exclusive restaurant where the staff treated Di-hyun with reverent familiarity. We talked about work, about Seoul, about everything and nothing. But underneath the conversation, I felt something electric, something that made my skin hyperaware of every time his hand accidentally brushed mine. I need to confess something, he said over dessert. I've been looking forward to this more than I should. You've become important to me, Simone, not just as an employee. My heart stopped. This was the moment I'd been both hoping for and dreading. Di-hyun, I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that you've changed something in me. The way you talk to me, challenge me, see past all the noise. I haven't felt this connected to another person in years. I should have shut it down, should have established professional boundaries. Instead, I said, I feel it too, and it scares me. His hand covered mine on the table. Me too. The next week was a blur of meetings, presentations, and stolen glances across conference rooms. Di-hyun's team was impressive but clearly confused by their boss's behavior. He'd always been cold, controlled, distant. Now he smiled when I entered rooms, asked my opinion first, defended my ideas fiercely when others questioned them. The change was obvious to everyone, and I could feel their curious stares following us everywhere. His executive assistant, Jai-woo, pulled me aside after a particularly long meeting. Can we talk privately? We went to an empty office and her expression was serious. Whatever she was about to say, I knew I didn't want to hear it. I've worked for Di-hyun for 8 years. I've never seen him act this way with anyone. The way he looks at you, the way he talks about you when you're not around. I'm concerned. Concerned about what? He's not good with emotions. He's brilliant, driven, successful. But relationships, connections, they don't come naturally to him. He tends to become fixated on things he wants. Obsessive, even. I'm worried you might get hurt or that this might become complicated in ways that could damage your career. Her warning should have alarmed me more than it did. Instead, I felt defensive, like she was attacking something precious. He's been nothing but respectful. For now, but I've seen him pursue business deals. Once he decides he wants something, he doesn't stop until he gets it. Just be careful. That evening, Di-hyun invited me to his penthouse for a drink. I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to maintain boundaries, to protect myself. But when had I ever listened to the rational part? I didn't. His home was stunning, minimalist, modern, with art that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. But it felt empty, unlived in, like a showroom instead of a home. You don't spend much time here, do you? He poured us wine, his movements precise, controlled. I spend most of my time working. This is just where I sleep. That's sad. He turned to me, surprised. You're the only person who would say that to me. Then you need better people around you. We sat on his couch talking about his childhood, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs, building his first company at 19, the loneliness that came with success. I told him about growing up in Atlanta, about my parents who sacrificed everything for my education, about feeling invisible for so long. With every word, we were crossing lines we couldn't uncross. "You're not invisible to me," he said softly. "You're all I see." The air between us felt charged, dangerous. His hand came up to my face, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. The touch sent electricity through my entire body. "Simon, I need to kiss you. Tell me no if you don't want this." I couldn't say no. I didn't want to say no. Every warning, every concern, every rational thought evaporated the moment his lips were inches from mine. When our lips met, it felt like falling and flying at the same time. His kiss was hungry, desperate, like he'd been starving for this. My hands tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, and he made a sound low in his throat that sent heat through my entire body. This was dangerous. This was everything I shouldn't do, and I couldn't stop. We broke apart, both breathing hard. "We shouldn't have done that," I whispered. "I know," but he was looking at my lips like he wanted to do it again, like he was barely holding himself back. "I work for you, this is complicated." "I don't care, Simon, I haven't felt anything real in years, and then you sent me that drunk text and everything changed. Tell me you don't feel this too and I'll never mention it again." "I can't tell you that, but I'm scared. You have all the power here. What happens to my career if this goes wrong?" His expression shifted, becoming pained. "I would never use my position against you. Never, you're too important." "That's exactly what scares me. Jaiwoo warned me that you get obsessive about things you want." He stood abruptly, moving to the window, tension radiating from every line of his body. The shift from passion to distance happened so fast it gave me whiplash. "She had no right to say that to you." "Did she lie?" The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken truths. "No," he finally said, his voice rough. "When I want something, I focus on it completely. It's how I built my company. But you're not a business deal, Simon. You're a person I care about. I would never hurt you. You might not mean to, but the power imbalance is real. You control my job, my income, everything about my professional life right now. How can anything between us be equal?" He turned back to me and I saw something raw in his face. Vulnerability I'd never seen before. "You're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have kissed you. I shouldn't have put you in this position. I'll have my assistant arrange for you to report to my COO instead. We'll maintain professional boundaries, I promise." But as I left his penthouse that night, my lips still tingling from his kiss, I knew it was too late. The line was already crossed, and neither of us knew how to go back. We'd opened a door that couldn't be closed, and I had no idea where it would lead. The next day was awkward. Hyun was polite but distant in meetings, barely looking at me. It hurt more than I wanted to admit. I caught him watching me twice, his expression unreadable before he quickly looked away. At lunch, his head of marketing approached me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Simon, I wanted to introduce myself properly. I'm Min Jae Park. We haven't had much chance to talk, but I wanted you to know that your work has been incredible. We're all impressed." "Thank you." She hesitated, studying my face. "I also wanted to mention that if you're interested in relocating to Seoul permanently, my team would love to have you. I've already discussed it with Hyun, and he's supportive, though he mentioned you'd report to me directly rather than him. The offer stands regardless of your personal situation." I studied her face, trying to detect if she knew something, but her expression was sincere, professional. Or maybe she was just better at hiding things than I was. "I appreciate that, I'm still thinking about it." That evening, alone in my hotel room staring at the Seoul skyline, I got a text from an unknown number. My stomach dropped. Not again. "Unknown, my name is James Ryder. I'm the CEO of Prestige Collective, and I'd like to offer you a position as our global marketing director. Your work on the DH Industries watch campaign has been making waves in our industry. We're prepared to offer you $275,000, full relocation assistance to New York, and equity. Please consider meeting with me tomorrow." I stared at the message, my mind racing. How did he know about the campaign? It hadn't launched yet. Someone had leaked confidential information and they were using it to steal me away. I forwarded it to Hyun without thinking. Did someone on your team leak campaign details? I just got this." His response was immediate. A phone call, not a text. When I answered, his voice was tight with barely controlled fury. "Where did you get this message?" I read it to him again, and the silence on the other end was frightening. I could hear him breathing, could feel his anger through the phone. "Hyans. Someone from my company leaked strategy details to a competitor, and they're using that information to poach you. I'm not interested in the job." "Why not? It's more money, New York, everything you wanted." "Because I don't want to work for people who conduct business unethically. And because," I stopped myself, the words catching in my throat. "Because why, Simone?" "Because I don't want to leave. Even though it's complicated and messy and probably stupid, I don't want to leave." Another long silence, and I could feel the weight of what I'd just admitted hanging between us. "Come to my office, now please." When I arrived, he was packing, his control clearly frayed. I'd never seen him like this, raw, unguarded, almost desperate. It scared me and drew me in at the same time. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear all of it before you respond. Can you do that?" I nodded, nervous, my heart pounding so hard I thought he might hear it. "When I got your text that night, I knew immediately it was a wrong number. The country code was right there, but I read your words, saw your fire, your honesty, and I was intrigued, so I responded. Then we started talking, and you were real in a way no one in my life is real. You challenged me, made me laugh, called me out when I was being cold. I looked up your work before I offered you the job, and yes, you're incredibly talented. But Simone, I also wanted a reason to keep you in my life." My breath caught. This confession was everything I'd hoped for and everything I'd feared. "Then you came here, and seeing you in person made everything more intense. I know I'm supposed to be professional. I know I'm your boss, and that complicates everything. But when I found out Prestige was trying to steal you, my first thought wasn't about business strategy or company loyalty. My first thought was, I can't lose her. That's not professional, that's not appropriate. That's obsessive, just like Jaiwoo warned you." "Hyans. I'm not finished. I need you to understand that I will respect whatever boundaries you set. If you want purely professional, I'll give you that. If you want to take the Prestige job, I'll write you a reference that will make them weep with joy. If you want to explore whatever this is between us, I'll work with you to figure out how we can do that ethically. But I need you to know that my feelings for you are real, they're intense, and they're not going away just because they're inconvenient." I stood there, processing his words, my heart pounding, my mind spinning with possibilities and fears. "You scare me," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "The intensity scares me. I've never had someone look at me the way you do, like I'm the only person in the room. In the world, it's overwhelming." "I know, I'm sorry. But I also haven't felt this alive in years. You see me, really see me, and you make me feel like I matter. Not just my work, but me. And I have feelings for you too, even though I've been trying not to." He moved closer, hope flickering in his eyes like a flame in the darkness. "So what do we do?" "I don't know, I need to think. I need space to figure out what I want without you looking at me like that, because when you look at me like that, I can't think straight." "Okay, take all the time you need, but Simone, whatever you decide, you still have a job here. That doesn't change. I meant what I said about having you report to Min Jae. Your career is yours, regardless of anything else." I left his office feeling like my whole world had tilted on its axis. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about what I wanted, was suddenly in question. The next 3 days I barely saw Hyun. He was traveling for business meetings, and I worked directly with Min Jae on finalizing campaign details. She was brilliant, warm, and respectful. I could see myself working for her long term, but every moment he was gone, I felt his absence like a physical ache. But I missed him, missed our daily video calls, his dry humor, the way his face softened when he smiled at something I said. The realization terrified me. On my last night in Seoul, I made a decision, one that would change everything. I showed up at his penthouse unannounced. He answered the door in jeans and a t-shirt, looking more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. More human, more vulnerable. "Simone, is everything okay?" "I'm going back to Atlanta tomorrow, and we need to talk." He let me in, tension radiating from him as we stood in his living room, the Seoul skyline glittering behind us. "I'm not taking the Prestige job. I want to stay with DH Industries, working under Min Jae like you suggested. But I'm not ready to move to Seoul permanently yet. I need more time." He nodded, his expression carefully neutral, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. "I understand." "I'm not finished. I also think we should explore this, whatever this is between us, but slowly, with boundaries. No more boss-employee dynamic since our report to Min Jae. No using your position to pressure me. And we need to be honest about when things feel unhealthy or too intense. You want to try with me? I want to try. You terrify me, Di-hyun. Your intensity, your focus, the way you look at me like I'm everything. But you also make me feel valued and seen and alive. I think you're worth being terrified for. He crossed the room in 3 strides, cupping my face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. I promise I'll work on being less intense. I'll give you space when you need it. I'll be better at boundaries, just don't leave. I'm not leaving, I'm just going home for a while. We can video call like before. And it won't be the same, not now that I know what it feels like to have you close. Good things are worth waiting for. He kissed me then, softer than the first time but no less intense, like he was trying to memorize the feel of me. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. Thank you for taking a chance on me, on us. The next 3 months were a strange, beautiful dance. I worked from Atlanta, reporting to Min Jae, while Di-hyun and I navigated our new relationship through screens and time zones. We video called almost every night, talking about everything from campaign strategies to childhood memories to our fears about what we were building together. The distance was hard, but it also gave us space to build something real. He sent me flowers every week. I sent him playlists of music he'd never heard. He flew to Atlanta twice, taking me to dinner and treating me like I was precious. I felt myself falling deeper, even as Keisha continued to side-eye the whole situation. I just want to make sure you're being smart about this, Simone. I am, I promise. He's working on himself. We're both being careful about boundaries. And if it falls apart, then at least I'll know I tried. I'm tired of playing it safe, Keisha. Playing it safe got me 6 years with Richard. Taking a risk got me this. Then the scandal hit, and everything I thought I knew was thrown into chaos. A tech journal published an exposé accusing DH Industries of stealing proprietary code from a competitor. The allegations were serious, potentially company-ending. The stock plummeted, investors panicked, and the media was tearing Di-hyun apart. And Di-hyun disappeared. For 3 days I couldn't reach him. No calls returned, no texts answered. I was frantic, worried and hurt. Had he shut me out? Was this who he really was when things got hard? Min Jae assured me he was handling the crisis but was essentially locked in emergency meetings with lawyers and board members. But the silence was killing me. On the 4th day at 2 a.m. my time, my phone rang. I grabbed it before the first ring finished. Simone, his voice was wrecked, exhausted, broken in a way I'd never heard. I'm sorry I went dark. Everything is falling apart. Tell me what happened, the truth. He told me everything. A former employee had stolen code and sold it to a competitor, then blamed DH Industries for the theft to cover their tracks. The evidence was messy, contradictory. The media was running with the story. His reputation was being destroyed in real time. Everything he'd built was crumbling. I built this company from nothing, he said, and I heard the tears in his voice. 17 years of work, and it could all disappear because of one person's betrayal. What do you need from me? I don't know, I just needed to hear your voice. You're the only person whose opinion I trust right now. Then listen to me, you're going to fight this. You're going to find the evidence that proves your innocence and you're going to come out of this stronger. And I'm going to help you. Simone, you don't have to. I'm booking a flight to Seoul. I'll be there tomorrow. We're going to fix this together. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought we'd been disconnected. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. You would do that for me. Of course I would. I love you, you idiot. The words were out before I could stop them. I hadn't meant to say them, not like this, not over the phone during a crisis. But they were true, and he needed to hear them. Say that again, he whispered. I love you, even though you're intense and obsessive and you scare me sometimes. I love you. I love you too, so much it terrifies me. Simone, I love you. I flew to Seoul the next day, my heart in my throat the entire flight. The next 2 weeks were brutal long days of legal meetings, strategy sessions and damage control. I worked with Min Jae and the marketing team to craft a response strategy that controlled the narrative without being defensive. We worked 18-hour days, surviving on coffee and determination. But more than that, I saw Di-hyun at his lowest. Watched him struggle with feelings of betrayal, failure, fear. Saw him break down in his penthouse after a particularly difficult day, and held him while he cried about losing everything he'd built. This was the man behind the billionaire, and I loved him even more for letting me see it. "You're not losing everything," I told him, running my fingers through his hair as he lay with his head in my lap. "You still have your integrity, your talent, and people who believe in you." "I have you. You have me." It took 3 weeks, but we found the evidence. Security footage, email trails, financial records, everything that proved the former employee's guilt and DH Industries' innocence. The tech journal issued a retraction. The competitor settled quietly. The stock recovered. Victory should have felt sweet, but Di-hyun seemed more troubled than relieved. But something in Di-hyun had shifted. That night, after the crisis was officially over, we were alone in his penthouse, the weight of exhaustion and relief settling over us. "I need to tell you something about myself, something I've never told anyone." I took his hand, waiting, giving him the space to be vulnerable. "When I was 8, my mother left my father and me with nothing, just disappeared one day. My father fell apart, started drinking. I spent years trying to be good enough, successful enough, perfect enough that she'd come back. She never did. I built this company partly to prove to her that I was worth staying for." Di-hyun, my heart broke for the little boy he'd been. "I realized during this crisis that I've been doing the same thing with you. Holding on too tight, being too intense, because I'm terrified that if I'm not perfect, if I'm not enough, you'll leave too. That's not fair to you. That's not healthy." Tears ran down my face as I understood the depth of his pain. "I'm not your mother. I'm not leaving because things got hard. I'm here because I choose to be here." "I know, but I need to work on that fear. I need therapy, probably. I need to trust that you're with me because you want to be, not because I've somehow trapped you with intensity or money or whatever else. I think that's really brave, and I'll support you through that work if you let me. You'd stay, even knowing how broken I am." "You're not broken, you're human, we're all carrying something. And yes, I'll stay. But I need you to trust me enough to be honest when you're struggling instead of just gripping tighter." "I'll try, I promise I'll try." 6 months later, I moved to Seoul permanently. Not because Di-hyun pressured me, but because I wanted to. Because Min-jae offered me the role of Chief Creative Officer, reporting directly to the board. Because I'd fallen in love with the city, the team, the life I was building. Because I'd finally found where I belonged. Di-hyun and I went public with our relationship, which caused a media frenzy that lasted for weeks. But by then, I'd proven myself so thoroughly that no one could claim I'd slept my way to success. My campaigns had won international awards. Revenue in the American markets had tripled. I'd earned my place through talent and hard work. He was in therapy weekly, working on his attachment issues and need for control. I was in therapy too, working on my fear of being made small again, of losing myself in someone else's shadow. We were figuring it out together, messily but honestly. Some days were harder than others. One evening, almost a year after that first drunk text, we were in his penthouse, our penthouse now, and I pulled up the message on my phone, laughing at how far we'd come. "Can you believe this is how we met? Me drunk and angry, texting a complete stranger." He took my phone, reading the message and smiling with that soft expression he reserved only for me. I knew it was a wrong number immediately. The country code gave it away. "Wait, what?" I saw the wrong number and I responded anyway. I was intrigued by your honesty, your fire. I wanted to know who would send a message like that, so I kept the conversation going. "You sneaky," I smacked his arm, laughing. "You let me think I'd mortified myself for days." "You had mortified yourself, I just chose not to tell you I knew." He pulled me close, wrapping his arms around me like he still couldn't quite believe I was real. "Best wrong number I ever received." "You're absolutely insane, you know that." "Only for you. I promised you I'd work on the obsessive intensity thing." "How's that going?" "Terribly. I'm completely obsessed with you and not even remotely sorry about it." I laughed, kissing him, tasting the wine on his lips and feeling completely, perfectly happy. "Good, because I'm pretty obsessed with you too." Thank God for drunk texts and wrong numbers. Thank God for Korean billionaires with terrible boundaries and big hearts. We stood there looking out at the Seoul skyline, two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way and chosen each other every day since. It wasn't perfect. We still fought about his intensity and my fear of losing myself. We still struggled with the public scrutiny and the pressures of our careers. Some days were harder than others, and we were both still learning how to be vulnerable without being broken. But it was real, it was ours, and I wouldn't change a single thing. Not even that drunk text that started it all. Because sometimes the best things in life come from our biggest mistakes. Sometimes the person you're meant to find is on the other side of a wrong number. And sometimes, love means being terrified together and choosing each other anyway. So there you have it, one drunk text that changed everything. If you enjoyed Simon and Dehyun's wild journey, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support means the world to me. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person that ended up changing your life? Or would you take a chance on love with someone whose intensity both scared and excited you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're craving more emotional rollercoaster stories like this, check out the video I'm linking above. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until next time, remember to take those risks, know your worth, and never be afraid of unexpected connections. See you in the next one.